When I went to meet Luis, I happened to come across a post on a social networking site. My daily life with my med student crush. The ambiguous chat screenshots hooked lots of gossip-loving followers, until I scrolled to the latest post, just 2 minutes ago. The blogger and her crush were wearing white coats, smiling at each other with perfect chemistry. The comment section went crazy with sweetness. If this doesn't count as love, then what does? Hurry up and get together. I'll even move a bed in for you too. It's been 2 minutes already. Got your marriage license yet? Married? Kids? Help. Why is this so sweet? God, please bless me with a doctor boyfriend. But that face, one I'd recognize even if it turned to ashes. Who else could it be but Luis? I calmly saved every single post. The day I left, Luis asked me, "How long is my little girlfriend going away this time?" He thought I was going abroad for a concert tour again. This time, I didn't reply to him. If affection splits into two paths, then from this moment on, spring and autumn shall no longer touch. Neither wind nor moon shall have anything to do with us anymore. Chapter 1. One hand dragging my suitcase, the other holding a basketball. It had the signature of Luis's favorite player. The poster's location was this very private kitchen restaurant, conveniently right next to the hospital where Luis was doing his internship. Mealtime had long passed, leaving only 2 or 3 private rooms occupied. Aw, don't tease me like that. Luis and I are really just good friends. A soft, sweet female voice came from not far away, tinged with a shy confusion. Her mouth said don't joke, but her tone was extremely flirtatious. The people there all seemed to know exactly what was going on and began coaxing them. "Oh, please. Everyone knows. Those times you messed up night shift duty, weren't you always sent to Luis for cleanup?" "Exactly. People from other departments are all gossiping about you too. Fortune favors the brave in love, Luna. Stop hesitating. Luis is in high demand." But I remember Dr. Luis already has a girlfriend, right? I bit my lip instinctively, and for a brief moment, I actually believed the person being asked would deny it immediately. It was Luis's voice, slightly low. He had allergic rhinitis, and it always acted up when the seasons changed. So every time I finished an overseas tour, the first thing I did was go find medicine for his allergies. Hearing him confirm it, I subconsciously let out a breath of relief. Maybe I really was overthinking. Maybe it was just her one-sided wishful thinking. The private room suddenly fell silent. "No way, so you and Luna really have no chance?" "My girlfriend and I have been together for almost 7 years. We're already used to each other. Once I settle down here, we'll get married." Luis continued with a laugh. "Our Luna is a good girl. I'm not good enough for her. 2 people should be together because they like each other. Since when does habit count as love? You don't like me at all? Not even a little? What if I had met you first?" Her voice trembled with a sob, full of grievance and unwillingness. After what felt like a century, I finally heard Luis's familiar voice. "Maybe, but sadly, there is no what if." Maybe, but sadly, there is no what if. I stood outside the door, wanting to cry, but unable to shed a tear, wanting to laugh at how ridiculous it all was, but unable to laugh. Every word Luis said felt like a slap across my face, leaving me speechless. We'd been together almost 7 years. From the best years of 18 until now, we had stepped on every fallen leaf of the medical campus, smelled every breath of osmanthus in the music academy. We had met each other's parents, and even picked out our future home. He once held me under a sky full of fireworks and cried, whispering again and again into my ear, studying medicine was boring and grueling, and I was the only faith that kept him going all these years. But when did this relationship become such a burden to him? When did it become something that made him say, "Sadly, there is no what if"? I didn't know whether I should walk in and confront him, or break up with him immediately, and I couldn't understand why. Why would the boy who, 7 years ago, chose medicine on impulse just because I once said, "I think having a doctor boyfriend sounds nice," be someone who could care for another girl so thoroughly, even while comforting me every single day? Chapter 2. It rarely snows in City C. I walked aimlessly along the roadside, seeing nothing but rows of red taillights. The main road that had been clear when I came, why was it suddenly packed with cars? just like how everything in life had seemed to move smoothly and happily toward the future. Why was it that, in the blink of an eye, we suddenly couldn't move forward anymore? I still remember a day back in senior year of high school. I was biting my pen, staring blankly at a desk full of practice questions. The faint sound of the youth group's music drifted from the radio, making the whole building restless. Luis, who sat behind me, suddenly tapped my shoulder. April, date me. I turned around, completely confused. What? He stared at me nervously, speaking each word with care. I want to date you. I've wanted to for a long time. I looked at him in disbelief. So this is what it feels like when the person who once secretly liked you finally confesses. 1,000 lights turning on all at once, fireworks exploding in your mind, falling into his eyes and turning into a sky full of stars. The voice in the broadcast grew louder. I once poured my youth into her, plucked midsummer from my fingertips. Follow your heart wherever it leads. I could still remember the seriousness, the determination in Luis's eyes as he looked at me. Everyone had already run out of the classroom, leaving only the two of us behind. I nodded stiffly, then shook my head. I like the idea of having a doctor boyfriend. Then I'll take the exam. I can definitely get in. He excitedly pulled out the newly released mock exam ranking. Good enough for top universities. April, you're not allowed to lie to me, okay? I looked at his satisfied smile and turned back around, stiff as wood. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would jump out of my chest. Thump, 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 thump. At 18, Luis gave up computer science for April and chose medicine. At 18, Luis said April would be the only factor in every decision he ever made. At 18, Luis prayed at every temple known to be effective in City C, begging the gods to let his confession succeed. But the fiery sincerity of 18, placed in 25, seemed to count for nothing now. Chapter 3. I sat in Luis's room. For the first time, I picked up his iPad and opened his WeChat. I was still pinned at the top as his little girlfriend. Our last chat was still from the afternoon. Tomorrow I'll try to ask my boss for leave so I can personally pick up my little girlfriend. But actually, my flight was today. I had planned to arrive early in City C to surprise Luis, who knew it would be a surprise with no joy. I tapped on Luna's profile picture, scrolled up casually. It turned out their chat history had never been deleted either. It had lasted exactly 6 months as of today. They talked almost every single day. I heard Dr. Luis skipped breakfast today, so I brought some extra snacks for you. Reporting to Dr. Luis, today's takeout arrived way too fast. This place must be terrible pre-made food. I helped our Dr. Luis avoid the disaster. Brought coffee for Dr. Luis. You're the free extra cup from the buy one get one deal. Thank goodness you were there last night, Dr. Luis. Otherwise I wouldn't have known what to do. Let me treat you to dinner after work today. Luna must remember to bring nut snacks for Dr. Luis every day. Don't starve my caring and responsible doctor. So Dr. Luis's girlfriend is an art major. No wonder she dresses so well. Unlike me, can't even tell foundation from primer. I'm so dumb. From his initial refusals, to replying occasionally, to eventually answering her every message. The birthday gift he prepared for me, he bought the exact same one for her. All the places he'd taken me to eat, he had taken her there too. He always refused to check scans or reports for others on their phones, except for me and Luna. Even the PDD one-tap bargain, something he always scoffed at. He would do it for Luna because she pouted a little. They would talk at midnight about difficult patients, about gossip from other departments, and they had countless inside joke stickers I couldn't understand at all. Scrolling and scrolling, my hands stopped on a day in mid-September. I was performing in New York with my mentor then. I had a high fever and ended up hospitalized. Luis stayed up all night with me despite the time difference. But that very same night, he also stayed up with that girl, Dr. Luis. I just had a nightmare. I can't fall asleep. Are you sleeping? He replied, no, I'm keeping my girlfriend company. Silence on her side. Then, don't be mad if you really can't sleep. I can chat with you for a bit. At that moment, my tears dripped onto the screen one after another. Wipe as I might, I couldn't wipe them all away. That obedient, coaxing little sticker he sent her, I had never even seen it before. My unnatural calm completely collapsed. The person you thought had boundaries, self-control, and a sense of responsibility, his heart had already long begun to drift away. Chapter 4. Luna's profile suddenly jumped to just below mine. Dr. Luis. I feel a little dizzy. Can you come down and keep me company? Luis. If you don't like me, then why did you bother getting close to me? I'm great too. I only lost because I met you a step later than she did. Luis. You're the first person Luna has ever chased. I like you. I really like you. Stay with me for a bit. Just a bit. I won't bother you anymore after this. 3 minutes later. Okay. Luis said okay. I calmly took out my phone and opened a video call. It was cut off instantly. He typed quickly. My boss is still tormenting me. I'll head back to my little girlfriend later. Back? Was there even a back to go to? I lifted my head wearily and wiped away the tears that had long gone cold on my face. Maybe he noticed I wasn't replying like usual. He sent me another message. My boss agreed to the leave tomorrow. Wait obediently for me at the airport. Even if the hospital director shows up, I'm still going to spend time with my little girlfriend. I laughed, put my phone down, and began packing, carefully, one item at a time. The clock slowly pointed to 10 o'clock. 2 hours could pass so fast. I stood at the door with my suitcase in hand and sent Luis one last message. My plans changed. I can't come back. The road between you and me ends here. Luis replied quickly. Where is my little girlfriend going on tour this time? How long will you be away? I miss you so much. I tugged at the corner of my lips, but didn't reply again. If he were smarter, if he had hidden this betrayal better, maybe I would have kept loving him, living in the beautiful illusion I adored. But he failed to hide it, and I would never tolerate it. So even the most well-matched pair, even the most breathtaking beginning, cannot escape the reality of a tragic ending. If affection splits into two paths, then from now on, spring and autumn shall no longer touch. Neither wind nor moon shall have anything to do with us anymore. Chapter 5. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I stood at Julia's door. She was my college roommate, the one who had sworn she would be my first bridesmaid when Luis and I got married. Back then, Luis was terrified someone would steal me away, so he arranged my roommates early on. Strategist Clara, Chief Advisor Julia, Pursuit Artillery Alicia. Once I win over those three, my little girlfriend won't be able to escape. Maybe the winter in City C was just too cold. Cold enough to turn my eyes red, my nose red. Julia froze for a moment when she saw me, opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. After washing up, I stood on the balcony wrapped in a thick coat. I stood there so long that my face felt completely numb from the cold. When I wiped my face, I suddenly realized, why was I crying again? I wasn't the one who did anything wrong. Julia walked over, trying to sound relaxed. Her gaze landed on a flower pot not far away. Is your camellia still alive? I tugged at the corner of my lips. I think it already withered. Even I didn't know on which sunny, peaceful day it had quietly died. It used to be my favorite flower. At my high school graduation ceremony, a nervous teenage boy held out a bouquet of camellias, looking at me helplessly. The golden admissions letter in his hand shone just as brightly as he did. He said, April. I got in. After a moment of silence, Julia spoke again. Once you decide something, that's it. I won't try to persuade you. Persuade? Persuade me to reconcile? But once people have a crack between them, they really can't get close again. A broken rope, no matter how you tie it, will always have a knot. Maybe some people can make up, but no one can pretend nothing ever happened. Reconciling is easy. Going back to how things were is hard. I don't want to wait until every bit of hope in me is exhausted before I finally say goodbye. That would be too humiliating for me. Our long talk last night didn't blow me over, but it did blow Julia over. We rushed her to the hospital, and after a long wait, finally got her into the infusion room. Stop rushing me. Can't you see we're all busy? The nurse looked young, but her temper definitely wasn't. People always say, the worse the attitude in a hospital, the better the medical skills. I nodded to show understanding and said gently, I'm sorry. My friend's feeling unwell. Thank you. In reality, when I went to find Julia, she had just been watching some astrology videos. The nurse felt around her arm for a while, stuck the needle in. Nothing, Julia hissed, frowning, suddenly more awake. Impatiently, the nurse switched to the other arm, her tone even worse. Your veins are that thin. Isn't it normal I can't get it in? Even the 3-year-old next door can handle it better than you. I couldn't help standing up. Julia gave me a look, signaling me to let it go. She didn't have the strength to argue right now. After 3 attempts, Julia finally got the 4 drip in properly. The nurse let out a cold snort and wordlessly collected the tourniquet. I stood up to adjust the drip speed, but then I realized the name on the 4 bag wasn't Julia's. Did they get the medication wrong? I quickly stopped another passing nurse to confirm it. Yes, the medication was wrong. Julia pushed herself upright, her voice hoarse. Get your supervisor here. I'm filing a complaint. Chapter 6. The nurse who came back was the same arrogant one from before. She glanced at the 4 bag and spoke irritably. Isn't she fine? She's standing perfectly well. Isn't she? I looked straight at her. What kind of attitude is that? Is this how a medical professional reacts after making such a serious mistake? Even though my parents raised me with the belief that harmony brings wealth, suffering is a blessing. Seeing her treat someone's body like it meant nothing, making a mistake yet acting righteous and unapologetic. If we let it go just like this, Julia might end up with more than 1 breast nodule. You've barely had the 4 in for a moment. We're already very busy. Stop giving us. Julia cut her off mid-rant, lifting her phone. Can't understand human language. Can you? Fine. I'll just call the mayor's hotline. The nurse froze visibly, biting her lip hard, her stubborn face tilted upward, still refusing to admit any fault. People nearby couldn't stand it anymore. This nurse's attitude is terrible. I just asked 1 extra question earlier and she refused to answer. My kid's been getting IVs these few days and refuses to let this nurse do it. If this hospital weren't close by, who would come here? And people still wonder why doctor-patient relationships are so tense. 1 rotten apple ruins the whole pot. Seeing more and more complaints piling up, a timid nurse quickly said, I'll go call Dr. Luis over. Dr. Luis? That's when I finally remembered. This was the hospital where Luis worked. We'd left the house in a hurry and told the driver to take us to the nearest hospital. So the Dr. Luis she mentioned. Less than half a minute later, hurried footsteps echoed from outside the infusion room. What happened? Luis walked in like he did this every day. And of course, he appeared right in front of me. He was wearing the white coat I used to love most on him. Standing tall and relaxed like a breeze through the mountains, even surrounded by chaos, he maintained his calm, detached demeanor. But the moment he saw me, his steps faltered. April, Dr. Luis. I think I'm in trouble again. These 2 sisters insist on filing a complaint. The nurse looked utterly wronged, her voice trembling as if she were the victim here. Even without my glasses, even without seeing her name tag, I now knew exactly who this nurse was. Julia, still furious, snapped without hesitation. Girl, you poked me 4 times and still hung the wrong 4. Yet you're the one feeling wronged? Do I need to collapse on the floor before I'm allowed to make a sound? Luis frowned slightly and turned toward Julia. Are you feeling unwell anywhere right now? I tugged at the corner of my lips, genuinely curious. So tell us, does your hospital define a medical error as hanging the wrong 4? Or does it only count after the patient is harmed? Why don't you enlighten us? Dr. Luis, what counts as feeling unwell? Does emotional distress count? Luna grew anxious, pointing at Julia. Her voice is louder than mine. How could she possibly have any issues? I let out a cold laugh, completely merciless. And who are you to decide whether she has an issue or not? Luis frowned, silent for a moment, then turned to me. Let's run some tests for Julia first, to see if her body has suffered any harm. Then he looked at Luna. You should step outside. I need to apologize to the patient. Chapter 7. He said he was apologizing on her behalf. But up to this very moment, when Luis still believed I was his girlfriend, who was she to him? And who was he to me? My boyfriend was apologizing to me, on behalf of another girl. How absurd. Luna sniffled and pushed the door open to leave. Luis walked closer and tried to pull me toward him, but I blocked his hand with mine. He stared at my hand for a moment, then asked cautiously, "Didn't you say you still had performances? Why did you suddenly come back?" I looked at him calmly. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital was so strong it stung my nose. He was still the same person standing in front of me, and just yesterday, we still had so many hopes, plans, and futures we wanted to give each other, to give this relationship. So why was it that overnight, everything suddenly became unnecessary? Luis refused to mention what had just happened, acting exactly like he always did. As long as I was there, he behaved as though his whole world consisted only of me. April must be tired, right? I'll be off shift soon. I tilted my head slightly, feigning confusion. Besides diagnosing and doing surgeries, do doctors here also have to personally handle nurses' complaints? He paused for a few seconds, hesitating. New staff make mistakes easily, just like your first performance on stage. The worst outcome of my performance mistakes is ticket refunds. Her mistakes could cost someone their life. Luis, you're a doctor, this is your field. Do you really understand it less than I do? Luis fell silent. He had always been someone with perfect logic. How could he give an excuse that made absolutely no sense? There are too many people here and it's chaotic. I'll talk to you when we get back. I couldn't stop myself from sighing. Is it the room that's chaotic, or your heart? Suddenly, his phone rang. Luis's phone. The name, Luna, on the screen was painfully glaring. He frowned slightly and declined the call. A few seconds later, it rang again. A flicker of conflict crossed Luis's expression before he finally put the phone away. I'll go finish my shift handover first. We'll go back together later. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just thought, forget it. In this relationship, Luis could no longer hold anything of mine, whether good or bad. He no longer deserved to. Chapter 8. I received Luna's messages while I was waiting at the airport. A photo popped up on my screen. She was leaning affectionately against Luis, smiling sweetly. Sister, stop clinging to him. I'm more suitable for him than you are. Do you know we talk in the on-call room from midnight till morning? Do you know which sleeping positions he likes the most? Do you know how much pressure he's under? You can't stay by his side to take care of him, but don't stop someone else from taking care of him. Luna will never be the other woman. My dignity won't allow it. Did you see who he defended just now? One call from me and he came running. Let him go early, otherwise everyone ends up miserable. A wave of absurd amusement washed over me. I took screenshots, opened the social platform, and posted them right under her chasing my crush thread. If you like stealing someone else's boyfriend so much, then take him. The trending list exploded instantly. Luna knew I was an art student, but she didn't know I was an art student with millions of fans across the world. Wasn't she eager for fame? Then I'd help her. And really, who gets blatantly cheated on and still swallows the humiliation? The screenshots weren't even online for 5 minutes before my phone started vibrating nonstop. What are you doing? Are you crazy? I was joking. You can't try to destroy me just because you can't have him. I was wrong. Can we talk? I'm begging you. You vicious woman. Dr. Luis would never like someone like you. At the same time, Luis sent me a message. He clearly had no idea that everything had already blown up outside. My little girlfriend. Just wait for me another 5 minutes, okay? I'm almost done. Expressionless. I turned off my phone and stood up to enter the boarding gate. The funniest thing in the world is this. I already knew the truth. Yet he was still lying. Lying so sincerely. So deeply. I once told him that I hoped we could always be honest with each other. Even if he wavered. Even if he hesitated like today. He could have told me openly. Maybe we could have parted peacefully. But he chose not to tell the truth. Not to resist temptation. Not to value what he had. A fly in a bowl isn't disgusting. What's disgusting is seeing it fall in with my own eyes. The plane glided along the runway, heading toward its route. Sunlight filtered through the window, scattering softly across my body. I remembered the last trip after our college graduation. The weather was just as beautiful. Luis and I were seated next to each other. Suddenly, my shoulder grew heavy. He had stayed up several nights in a row just to take a few days off. And he whispered in my ear, If you keep longing, the universe will answer. The Bodhisattva didn't lie to me. April is mine. April will always be Luis's. Back then, I wore my earphones, pretending I didn't hear him, but the smile I couldn't suppress at the corner of my lips betrayed me. I liked Luis. I liked him very, very much, but after 3 years, I finally understood. A valley with no echo isn't worth the leap. And a valley with endless echoes isn't worth it either. Luis truly loved me once. He also truly accepted another girl's joy, anger, sorrow, and fear. 7 years of love truly changed, and it was also true that he and I would never reach a clear future together. Fortunately, true or false, it all ended. Chapter 9. Luis finished handing over his shift a little absent-mindedly. In fact, the handover only took a little over 10 minutes. But he spent more than an hour. One of those hours was spent calming Luna down. Because of their respective work schedules over the past few years, he and April had always been seeing each other very little and being apart a lot, and Luna had always been by his side, showing concern, finding every possible excuse and reason to take care of him. Her feelings for him were passionate and frank, leaving him unsure how to reject her. April treated him well too, but simply because she wasn't around. No matter how considerate she was, some details would inevitably be overlooked. But he had never accepted Luna, and he had already told her he had someone he was going to marry. So he hadn't cheated. He just didn't understand why. When he saw April today, he actually felt a bit guilty, like someone doing something wrong. He clearly hadn't done anything inappropriate. He had only maintained basic boundaries and comforted a colleague. Dr. Luis. Are you really going to draw a clear line with me? Luna pitifully pinched the hem of his white coat. Her doe-like eyes red all over. Luis let out a soft sigh. Luna, the person you just saw was my girlfriend. I've told you before, I have a girlfriend. We're getting married soon. I don't want her to misunderstand. And I don't want her to be unhappy. Aren't you afraid of me being unhappy? Luna questioned him instinctively. But then, realizing she had no position and no right at all, she cried even harder. I just like you. That's all. I just want to be good to you. I don't need anything in return. Luis, don't push me away, okay? Luis glanced at his phone, still no message from April. He thought of April's expression just now, silently assuming she must be angry. I'm sorry. This time Luis didn't hesitate. He pulled his coat out of her hands forcefully. Luna covered her face, tears falling uncontrollably. She couldn't understand, what exactly was she lacking compared to April? She clearly had every advantage, being close by, being attentive. She only came a little late into the picture. But so what? Isn't it true that the longer couples stay together, the less novelty there is? They'd been together 7 years. They should have long grown tired of each other. She bit her lip and called out to Luis, who was about to leave. Luis, can you hug me? Just once, as the last wish for everything I've done for you. Luis's hand rested on the doorknob, frozen for a long time. That picture of them hugging was now vividly displayed on April's phone. Dr. Luis, your heart is beating so fast. You feel something for me. Luis gently pushed her away. Luna, this ends here. Chapter 10. When Luis arrived at the infusion room, he found that April and Julia were already gone. He called April. Her phone was off. Then he called Julia. We split up when we left. She should have gone back already. Luis subconsciously let out a breath. Going back was good. He thought she might be angry. He drove off to buy April's favorite cake, then lined up to get roasted poultry. She always craved that whenever she came back. But when he opened the door at home, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. The room that had always been full seemed to have an enormous empty space now. The little castle they had built together was gone. The doll pillows April had given him on the sofa were gone. The photos on the wall, both their photos together and the ones of her alone, were gone. Even the camellia on the windowsill was gone. April? He clearly knew no one would answer, but he still couldn't give up and tried calling out once. The hallway's sound-activated lights flickered on and off, making Luis's expression look even worse. His hands trembled as he opened the familiar number. Calling more than a dozen times, still turned off. Julia, where do you think April went? Went back. Obviously. Back where? Say it clearly. Luis's voice suddenly grew heavier, all his composure collapsing in that instant. There was a 3-second pause on the other end. Then Julia laughed lightly. Of course she went back to the United States. She has so many performances waiting for her. Luis asked instinctively. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Earlier? If you had finished your shift earlier and come to the infusion room, wouldn't you have heard her say it herself? If you had come find me earlier to ask, wouldn't you already know? Our beloved Dr. Luis, you're the one who dragged this out until now. Luis didn't know how he ended the call, but deep down, an overwhelming despair was rising. He and April seemed to be over. Completely over. Chapter 11. When Luis received Luna's call, he had just managed to take 4 days off. It was almost like he was betting everything he had. Dr. Luis, what are we going to do? April is trying to ruin both of us. I don't really matter. But you, after more than 10 years of hard study, being Professor Zhang's most valued student, your hard work can't go to waste. Luis opened the post she sent him. The comments were filled with endless criticism and curses, already tens of thousands of them. A casual search showed Luna's face everywhere next to the word homewrecker. And Luis, who had never shown his face online, remained beautifully hidden, but anyone who knew him would definitely recognize him. So he wouldn't stay hidden for long. Right now, though, Luis didn't care about any of that. He only saw the top comment. It was a screenshot of a conversation. The commenter's ID was Pipa. The hand that usually held a scalpel suddenly trembled uncontrollably. He was the one who had helped April come up with that ID. She knew? She knew everything. She was April, someone who couldn't tolerate even a grain of sand in her eyes. Dr. Luis? Hearing no response, Luna called out again. What do you want me to do? Luis's voice was terrifyingly calm. So calm it was chilling. What if we just say you two broke up long ago, and I was only pursuing you, and that now we're finally together? He shut his eyes tightly. Painfully. No, April would never break up with me, and I will never break up with her. It was as if he didn't hear any of Luna's words, while repeating that they would never break up. He lowered the phone. Right before the call disconnected, Luna was still screaming hysterically on the other end. You're going to ruin both of us. Luis, are you stupid? That bitch never loved you at all. Chapter 12. There was still 1 week before the performance. My teacher was surprised to see me back so soon, but after a few questions, she understood everything instantly. She gently stroked the pipa, and within the quiet night, only lingering notes drifted in the air. When the piece ended, she slowly spoke. In this lifetime, people may suffer many hardships, and love is one of them. But how could a mere passing breeze cause a flood? Seasons circle endlessly. Those meant to meet will meet again. You need not regret this. Instead, learn to look forward. Look ahead. Don't rot in the past or in your dreams. I nodded. Others pointing it out is never as powerful as realizing it yourself. Just before my teacher came to find me, Luna had posted an update, a statement claiming she was not a homewrecker. Between the lines, she implied that Luis and I had fallen out long ago and broken up early. Luis didn't step forward to deny it in order to defend me, nor did he admit it in order to defend Luna. That was the clearest answer of all. During rehearsal, my senior sister glanced at me with a bit of surprise. April's technique used to be very recognizable, but your emotion seems to have shifted in these last few pieces. Of course, damn men always end up affecting the speed of our plucking. Exactly. The line of people wanting a chance with our junior sister stretches all the way to France. We'll filter them one by one for you. My senior sister rubbed my head affectionately. April, if the Arctic Ocean and the Nile can merge in the mist, how could the right people not find their way to each other? Holding the pipa, my nose suddenly stung. Time to turn the page. April, even if summer cicadas fade into autumn leaves, you must look forward to next summer. Chapter 13. When Luis appeared in front of me, I wasn't surprised. The time and venue of the performance could be easily searched. There was no need, and no way, to hide it from him. He wasn't wearing much. Standing straight under a plane tree not far away, snow fell onto his shoulders, forming a thin layer of white. The air was stagnant, silent for a long time. I walked straight past him and headed toward the building. Wait. Luis's voice was low, each syllable hitting my heart heavily. He said, "April, I'm sorry." I stopped and turned around. He slowly walked toward me, the look in his eyes exceptionally earnest and full of emotion. "I've been rejecting her all this time. I never crossed the line in that relationship. Please believe me." I turned fully to face him, somehow finding it all a little laughable. "Then why are you apologizing? If you really think you did nothing wrong, why are you apologizing now?" His expression showed panic, as though he had never even considered these questions himself. "No, it's not like that. It's not what you're thinking. I was only helping her as a colleague." What kind of colleague relationship makes you prioritize her need to share things and confide in you over your own girlfriend? When Luna panicked because a patient was bleeding and dragged you from home to the hospital in the middle of the night, did you ever think about the fact that she is a professionally trained nurse who has gone through 4 years of systematic clinical instruction? Was there no other doctor in the hospital during her shift? Why did every little thing require your help? If all that is colleague goodwill, then what about after work? When her dog got sick at home, why was it you she called to take it to the pet hospital? When I flipped through the chat logs on my tablet, I had matched every timestamp clearly and calmly. The moment he and Luna took the dog to the pet hospital, I was standing outside Luis's university, waiting for him. I had sent him a message, "Luis, it suddenly started raining outside," and Luna's message came only half a minute after mine. She wrote, "Thank you, Dr. Luis, for going to the pet hospital with me. I'm treating you to dinner this weekend. You're not allowed to reject me this time." That was when I realized the saddest part wasn't the rainy day. It was that I was the one hiding under a roof alone, waiting for my boyfriend, who was with another girl. Luis completely panicked now, his eyes red as he explained, "It's because we've been apart so much, you don't feel secure anymore. I was just helping her because she's a girl on her own dealing with trouble outside." He didn't understand what I meant. He even turned it around and blamed my lack of trust and insecurity. I tried hard to hold myself together, but my voice still carried a tremor as I asked, "Luis, have I never faced problems I couldn't solve? Do you think I don't have colleagues who share my interests and goals? Do you think I've faced less temptation than you?" Every time I encountered something too difficult to handle, the first person I told was Luis, then my teacher, then my senior sisters. When I was locked out of my apartment, I found a locksmith myself. When I was robbed outside the supermarket, I hid and called the police myself. Even during power outages on rainy days, something I fear the most, I curled under my blanket and comforted myself alone. If I can handle these things on my own, why can't you? And if you can't, is it really because of the colleague relationship you keep talking about? By the time I finished, I didn't know when the snow had stopped. It felt like everything had fallen into silence. Luis's eyes were frighteningly red. Amid my relentless questions, he grabbed my hands in panic, as if I would vanish in the next second. "No, April, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'll change. I swear I'll change." I forcefully pulled my hands away. Wrong is wrong. Why bother saying sorry? Change? There's no need. You're not a child. Couldn't you tell right from wrong when you chose to act? When love is deep, behavior is naturally disciplined. I don't need ambiguous affection. Rather than holding up a broken umbrella, I'd rather walk in the rain. Chapter 14. In the days that followed, Luis trailed behind me every single day. On the bus, in the subway, outside the rehearsal room, in restaurants, he seemed to be trying very, very hard to win me back. Whenever I closed the door, he would stand alone outside, quiet, solitary. Only after all the lights in my room went dark would he walk back to his hotel alone. But we both knew, deep down, this relationship was never going back. Even if he knew he was wrong, even if he knelt in front of me begging, I didn't think I could feel sorry for him even for 1 second. The day the hospital forced him to return to work, he waited for me outside my door the entire night. At dawn, when I opened the door, he abruptly lifted his head. He was holding the breakfast he had bought for me, steam rising from it. He cried. It was the first time I had ever seen Luis cry. Tears streamed down his face as he pleaded, "Can you give me one more chance? Don't sentence me like this." I pulled a tissue from my bag and placed it in his hand. My tone was calmer than ever. "I already gave it to you, Luis, the last time I saw you at the hospital. While I was with Julia getting her infusion, you had come back to give me an explanation. Or if, on my way to the airport, when the sudden snowstorm trapped me on the road for so long, you had rushed to the airport to talk me into staying. Maybe we could have tried to talk through everything. Maybe I would have hesitated for the sake of our 7 years. For the 18-year-old version of you I once loved. But unfortunately, you didn't show up. Your so-called shift handover took almost 2 hours. In those 2 hours, you even managed to comfort Luna, who was inconsolably upset. And yet the only person you forgot was me. I used to feel gloomy because Luis and I often lived in different cities, separated by an entire country. But over these past few days, I suddenly understood something. When two hearts are no longer in the same place, even standing face to face, there is still an ocean and a mountain between them. As we brushed past each other, Luis's voice was so soft it almost disappeared into the dust. April, I wish I could go back to how we were at the beginning. All the days we can't return to have their reasons. Even if I could go back, even if I returned to the moment I first met you, I would turn around and walk away without hesitation. Chapter 15. By the time I returned to the country after the tour, it had been almost 5 months since Luis and I broke up. I went to the hospital to visit a sick friend and happened to run into him. His expression was blank, and all the light had drained from him. The once spirited, confident boy had finally dimmed completely. Or perhaps the light he had was only ever bright because I liked him. He walked toward me, suddenly looking awkward and unsure of what to do. I watched every single one of your performances. I nodded. Thank you, Anne. Luna has already resigned. She and I cut him off. I'm not interested in any of that. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. Luis refused to give up and grabbed my arm tightly. We can start as friends. I'll start over and pursue you again, okay? I can spend another 3 years. 5 years, I don't mind. I looked at him calmly. What you and Luna said in the private room that night, I heard all of it. You said maybe, but unfortunately, there's no if. He suddenly lifted his head to look at me. The last bit of struggle in his eyes finally shattered. His whole body seemed hollow, like a walking corpse. As he slowly turned and walked toward his office, he could not possibly misunderstand what that sentence meant. Love has never been a multiple-choice question. Even if I were the one chosen in the end, I would still rather not be chosen like that. That afternoon, Julia asked me out for shopping. I happily did a full, gorgeous makeup look, put on a pair of small heels, and headed out. Seeing how well I seemed to be doing, Julia talked even more than usual. That scumbag just had to mess everything up like this. And now look, his love life and his career both collapsed. I heard that ever since the breakup, Luis had been in terrible condition. Many clinical mistakes. Zero focus on research. Someone else quickly replaced him. This world has never lacked excellent people, especially not in a top-tier hospital filled with talent. Julia clicked her tongue, shaking her head with a hint of pity. If he keeps going like this, even staying on staff will be hard. I bit into my ice cream, my tone light. That was his choice. Something seemed to occur to Julia suddenly, and she burst into laughter. And that Luna actually dared to provoke you. She must not know you have all the chat records. I pressed my lips together and shook my head with a small smile. She knew. She was just betting I wouldn't dare expose them. After Luis and I broke up, Luna had come to me once. The usual things, how I'd simply gotten lucky meeting Luis at the best time in my life, that I was just luckier than she was, and so on. But I can never explain to a girl who pours all her energy into chasing men. The reason I was loved was because I was good, because I was worth it, with or without Luis. I am still me. When I'm supposed to shine, I shine. When I'm supposed to be loved, I will still be loved. Maybe my lack of reaction made her anxious. The brave get to enjoy love first, Luna. Stop hesitating. Luis is really popular. Things and not. She seemed to completely lose her mind, smearing me all over social media. She claimed I clung to Luis and refused to let go, even threatened self-harm to stop him from breaking up. She claimed I brought friends to the hospital just to make trouble for her, to force her into a dead corner. The drama-loving crowd only fanned the flames. It escalated until people were causing chaos on our orchestra's official website. They questioned my character. questioned my abilities, questioned whether the orchestra was failing to discipline its musicians. In response, I posted every chat record between her and Luis online. Not a single word omitted. Let others decide whether it was colleague friendship or quiet, steady boundary crossing. And people didn't just decide, they dug deeper. They discovered that Luna didn't even meet the qualifications to stay at the hospital and had never taken the recruitment exam. Following the trail, they found the person behind it all, a senior leader in the hospital. The same crowd causing trouble on our orchestra's site then flooded the hospital's official page, fiercely condemning them. Luna lost her job. Most of the hospital leadership was replaced, and Luis's situation in the hospital became even more difficult. Leaving again next month? At this rate, when will you find the right person? Julia looked at me with interest. I heard the line of people pursuing you stretches all the way to France. Not even one you like? I smiled brightly. I prefer putting aside romantic entanglements and dedicating myself to sharing our country's beautiful traditional culture. Marriage and love have never been necessities for me. If they come, they come. If they don't, I won't force it or settle. Things should not be bound by other things. Rather than being each other's entire world, I'd rather become a universe on my own.